Alright, good evening guys, and welcome back. Today I want to talk about the concept of not taking things personally. Me, specifically, I learned this concept just by being raised by my mother and watching how she interacts with people and just watching how she handles situations. When people say, don't take things so personally, what does that mean? Say for example, you're out somewhere like at the grocery store or whatever, and a stranger doesn't hold the door for you. Like you're walking and obviously they see that you're right behind them and they don't even bother to hold the door for you, but you know that they knew you were behind them. So what would be like your initial reaction to that? You might think that person's so rude, or you might want to cuss them out, or you might want to call them a name, or you might feel like, what did I do wrong, or what's wrong with me, or that person must be, insert whatever label you want to give that person. That person must be racist, that person must be whatever you want to label that person as. So that's one way to look at it. From that one situation, somebody not holding the door for you when they knew you were behind them, you can feel anger, you can feel like you're not worthy, you can feel disrespected, you can feel all of these emotions. Now when it comes to the idea of not taking things personally, how would you think about this situation? So me personally, immediately, this happens not often, but it does happen. You know, people do have moments where they're rude to you. But for me, if I'm walking somewhere like into a gas station and the person doesn't hold the door for me, my first thought is maybe they didn't see me. Now if it's obvious they saw me, I'm going to go to the next thing. But my first thing is just giving them the benefit of the doubt. Don't always jump to like the worst case scenario. Just think for yourself, maybe it was ignorance. We are all ignorant at some point. So maybe they didn't know. Maybe they didn't see me. So the first thing I like to think is maybe they just didn't know, you know? That's like the first kind of conclusion that I might try to come to. Now the next thought that I might have is maybe they're having a bad day. So this has nothing to do with me. Actually, anytime somebody makes you upset, it has nothing to do with you. So I think maybe they're having a bad day. You know, maybe something just happened with their friend or family member, or somebody just cut them off on the road on their way here, and now they're in a bad mood. And of course, people take things out on other people, but that doesn't mean that it's your fault or that you're less of a person because somebody acted a certain way towards you. Now, the next conclusion you might come to is maybe that person has something against me. Maybe the stranger doesn't like people like me. And that's very plausible. It very well may be plausible that that person is just discriminating against you and they are like, oh, I don't like that kind of person. I'm just going to ignore them and not hold the door for them. That's very possible, but don't take that personally. That has nothing to do with you as a person. It has everything to do with how they're thinking and what ideas they have in their own minds and their own opinions. And really, anytime I come to that conclusion that that person must be the type of person who doesn't like me, I'm just thinking that's kind of unfortunate for them. It's really unfortunate that that person has something against me without even knowing me. So that's like the next level I get to, is just pity. So the first thing is maybe they're ignorant, you know, I give them the benefit of the doubt. The second thing is maybe they're having a bad day, or maybe somebody did something to them and now they're taking it out on me. The next thing is pity. You know, how unfortunate is it that this person has hate in their heart? So those are like the three different things I cycle through before I try to take things personally, especially when it's somebody I don't know at all or somebody that I don't know well. So why is it important to not take things personally? I strongly believe that when something happens to you, like when somebody does something to you, it's always them. It's always they are upset, or they are insecure, or they were ignorant, or they. Like if you clearly haven't done anything wrong and somebody is doing something that you don't like to you, or saying something that you don't like to you, then it has everything to do with them. But the problem is when you take things personally, you're letting whatever is wrong with them affect your emotions. So think about it. If one day you text a friend, it might be a good friend, and you're like, hey, how's it going? And they are short with you. They give you 1 or 2 word responses, or they just seem like they're kind of being rude or distant or whatever. A lot of the time you might want to take that personally, like, what did I do? Or is there something that I don't know about? Like, did I upset you? or why are you being rude to me? But if you stop and think about it, something may have very well happened to them. So maybe your friend, maybe they were upset with something that their mom did. Their mom made them upset, and now they're kind of taking it out on you without even meaning to. And you can either let that affect you and upset you, and now you're gonna take that out on somebody else, or you can just sit there and cycle through those three options. And if it's your friend, you might just come to that conclusion that maybe my friend is upset. I shouldn't take this personally, but I should take some time to try to understand what is going on in their head. So many times in a day, people can let other people's emotions, actions, and words affect them. And once you let something affect you, then it's very easy for you to transfer that off to somebody else. Like earlier today, I was driving and I accidentally cut somebody off, and I realized it the moment that they honked at me. And I feel like that person had every right to honk, because that's a different topic, but I believe that honking is something that's good because it actually lets somebody know, hey, you did something wrong, you need to realize this and correct it in the future. But that person honked at me. For a moment, I was like, why did they honk at me? But I understood, okay, I cut them off. Number one, I didn't let that, I didn't carry that with me for the rest of the day. I didn't think, oh my God, I'm such a bad driver, or oh my God, that person's so rude for honking at me. I just kind of understood the situation, and I thought about what they were thinking about. They were thinking, this person just cut me off, that was kind of rude, or this person just cut me off, I almost rear-ended them. And I kind of wonder, and I hope that the person who honked at me didn't carry that throughout their day. And it didn't seem like they did, because there can be times when somebody cuts you off, you honk at them, and then you're kind of like raging, like you're kind of upset, and maybe you speed off around them, or you speed off and go cut somebody else off, and it's like, that's you transferring that energy onto somebody else. You definitely don't want to do that, because that's how negativity spreads. That's how, you get your blood rushing, and then you start doing stupid things, making stupid decisions. It's really it's okay to just let things stop where they are. Just because you receive energy that you don't like doesn't mean that you have to release it on somebody else. Just receive it and release it. But another thing that I want to speak about is just the fact that you can be the person receiving bad energy, and you can be the person also giving bad energy. Recently, I've been realizing that social media posts, especially like on Instagram, they tell you how to spot a toxic person, or how to avoid this type of person, or what to do when you end up in a situation with this kind of person and they're hurting you, or whatever. Although it is good to recognize when people are spreading negative energy to you, and it's good to recognize when people are being ignorant or hateful or are in a bad mood. But it's also important to recognize that me, you, and anybody you know can also be that type of person, and often is that type of person a few times a week or every day. I feel like those Instagram posts, they tell you how to spot toxic activity or toxic people, but they don't tell you how to know when you are a toxic person, or how to know when you're being toxic, or how to know when you're being insensitive, what to do when you are feeling angry, or you're feeling like you want to be rude towards somebody, or you're feeling unappreciated and you want to kind of take that out on somebody. No one person is the good guy every single day in every single situation. There will definitely be times where you are the instigator, and you need to take a step back and analyze yourself and say, am I being ignorant? Am I taking this out on somebody else? Do I have hate in my heart? And then when you recognize those things in yourself, just realize that that doesn't make you a bad person. It just makes you human. Everybody has moments when they are being unreasonable or rude, or they're being insensitive, or any of those negative traits that might hurt somebody else. Everybody has those moments, and everybody goes through those phases. Everybody has growth that they need. So yes, be on the lookout for people who have those traits that are negatively affecting you in the moment, but also realize that you can be that person who is portraying those traits and affecting other people negatively in certain moments. But that's just my thoughts on not taking things personally and thinking more critically about how people are interacting with you. Just, you know, taking a step back and analyzing the full situation and realizing that how people act towards you often has a lot to do with what is going on in their own head and going on in their own lives. So whenever you receive some energy that you don't like, don't carry it and don't spread it to anybody else. And if you find yourself in a mood that you don't like, go through those steps with yourself and ask yourself why you're feeling that way, and don't spread it to anybody else. But it was good chatting with y'all today, and I will catch you tomorrow and the next day and the next day and the next day and the next videos. And have a great night.